근데 아니 다바지 nghệ 그런 참아 순사위 두상 nghệ 다바지 아니 거진지에 대한 도지시 슈가 되지 임부자.
The way I feel right now is that all of the other speakers have said exactly what I wanted to say. And it seems that the only thing left for me to say is to thank you all for your kindness.
지지는 게 나란단 대회 스토리는 주제 안에 거진지에 대한 소화된 dengu유서.
That's all. But maybe in the spirit of appreciating the kindness of you all, I could share with you a little story about myself.
나한테서 상물로 랭게 상물도 민자외 안에 구유제 나로래야 산업 정부치 차디하래. 나 중두 안에 바지 나 개바네 정신기 뉴스 상물을 지금 오만에 저리 체사로지 나 통도스 안에 들이 뉴스상아 중두 안에 샘 나로래야 템퍼처리야 그 중두네 돌로마도 교인데 비치 나 정도스 상면지 가수에 지 가수에 지 자치부로 쓰대야지 정도스.
That's all. From the time I was very young onward, I was given a lot of different responsibilities. And it always seemed to me when I was young that everything was laid out before me. All of the plans for me were already made. I was given the clothes that I needed to wear and told where I needed to be, given these very precious and holy-looking robes to wear with the understanding that it was something sacred or important.
나로 듄이야 레벨거리야 and searching group Karmapa 쟁게 그래서 아직 그룹 레벨 고슬래제네 근데 얘들 이제 바제 아바다 아무 고스 계시입니다 쟤네 아니 결혼 까먹었어 아 남사 공부를 안 좋아했어 근데 미마부증 알아야 계절진이 원데도 급디도 사는 결혼이야 초와 컨트롤 중스 컨트롤이 까먹버렸어 두산 컨트롤 초와 중스 그래서 초와스 게임도 까먹었어 두산 지잖아 지怎么 먹어요 봐 가보시다 유기를 sometimes.
But before that kind of formal lifestyle happened for me, I was living in eastern Tibet with my family, and when I was 7 years old, all of a sudden, a search party arrived at my home. They were looking for the next Karmapa, and I noticed they were talking to my mom and dad, and the news came to me that they were telling me that I was the Karmapa. And these days, people ask me a lot, how did that feel? How did that feel when they came and whisked you away and your lifestyle completely changed? And what I mostly say is that at that time, it was a pretty interesting idea to me. I thought that things would be pretty fun and there would be more things to play with.
이미네 니주도 원에 전에다 리차요 말았어. 나 까먹어 차이 두사는 걸리 가수에 소수에게 보유 네 카테제 아니 파마다 카테제 아니 아장기다 트래디셔널 가수다 루스 수균기다 루스 담부에 대비 공변 나노 직수직 나노야 대체 아장기다 적부 아주 미지당부는 시체는 적부이나 두레미야 딱 간다 그게 가수다 스트레주는 시 아주 배게 계시야 답에 스트레주는 시 대오레스 드리스가 왔다 군전은 시바 대오레스 거를 제자 다 드리시도 산에 섬려야 아니 까마버스도 산에 지 긴구르게 버지당 아다나시 까마버치야데 레라고 민비치 수수에 파마다 같아 다나시 망부치 려동고 옆现实
But it didn't turn out to be so fun and entertaining as I thought it would have been. I was placed in a pretty strictly controlled environment, and immediately a lot of different responsibilities in terms of my education and so forth were heaped upon me. I was separated largely from my family, including my mother and father. I didn't have many personal friends to spend time with, but I was expected to perform these prescribed duties. So it turned out that my fantasy about an entertaining life of being the Karmapa wasn't going to come true. It more felt to be the case to me that I was being treated like a statue, and I was to sit in one place like a statue would.
Okay. 다 인비네야. 가서에 지 밤에 자와당 다나시 생기 자와디 텔레 카체베 삼바르스케 용문도스. Even 베니스 and 로주시 순백거리야 and 베니스 페브레 두사나네 수수 밤마다 뷰지에다 안다나시 저보다 보유의 상물로 예 장정불이야下去 표현을 해 당동이네 호주다 자와에 바당 에너지 고주 가수다 거딩기 지더버디 섬리아 유버치 초도스.
Nevertheless, I felt that even though I've been separated from my loved ones, and of course now I'm even further away. When I was 14, I escaped from Tibet and became even further removed from my mother and father, my relatives, my friends, and my homeland. But nevertheless, there's no real sense of separation from me in my heart in terms of the love that I feel for these people. I feel still a very strong connection of love for all of these people and for the land.
삼성에 아말라리아 가왔던요. 가왔던 주산에 에네 가바당 신비기 답변에 second 리리리아 수수디 자와촌 가수 제외 뉴버디 다른 분을 줄래게 여버집지다. 에네디 가수 동동이네 셈리아 지 바자 딘사부 연구협지 통도스.
And I still do get to keep in touch with my mother and father, albeit infrequently. I talk to my mother once in a blue moon on the telephone. And my experience is that when I'm talking to her, with every second that passes during our conversation, the feeling of love that binds us is bringing us closer and closer together.
나딩에 루규르치레 드링에 대 가르쳐 섬르스나 땅앙 소아르치레게 다 다데진 좀불린디 아니 뇌베 야게 시란 주요하래 아니 다나신 좀불린디 아주 빈수 벤다 테드는 시체네 빈수 미망고지 내야 도제는 가르쳐 돈좀 채하다 안 적봉 것이 자기 고급 망도망도 주요하래 아시다가 예스 이비네야 아주기 에너지 치기 넘규르당 치기 야게 점메바 아주 도난 채과지 섬리야 마제베 채과데 가르스나 지게 예섬리야 아주 낭심기 에는 제바당 라버도 아주 베네트 the design of Chevy bine azu sem design ya tonan che kwa da na shin be na ji technology de jin bine sem ki technology de le ya tonan che kwa de sida khe chum de song dos.
So those were just a few remarks about my personal background. And in terms of other things that I wanted to share with you in terms of ideas, I think it's wonderful to have a situation like this where so many people from different backgrounds and places can come together, exchange their ideas, and form relationships of friendship with each other. And I think that's symbolic of what we're seeing in the world in general, that the world is becoming smaller and smaller, and that all of the peoples in the world are enjoying more opportunities for connection. That's wonderful, but we should also remember that we should have a similar process happening on the inside. Along with outward development and increase of opportunity, there should be inward development and deepening of our heart connections as well as our outward connections. So we spoke and we heard some about design this week. I think that it's important for us to remember that we need to keep pushing forward on the endeavor of the design of the heart. We heard a lot about technology this week, and it's important for us to remember to invest a lot of our energy in improving the technology of the heart.
지당 아주 성원은 이념도 저 고급 방법 중요하다. 저분이 총총 중요하다. 이번에 전동 아주 생각 나로리야. 핀수 셈다 니버차리야. 파르도 주어버 챙게 드버 챙게 지금 방법이 소도.
That's so. So even though I'm somewhat happy about the wonderful developments that are happening in the world, still I feel a sense of impediment when it comes to the ability that we have to connect with each other on a heart-to-heart or a mind-to-mind level. I feel that there are some things that are getting in the way.
지당아 두규 미시달이야 저버지두사는 셈리야. 닝대 저버차. 뭐시 지당 안 포지션 기능구마부에서 같이 intelligent 제고레스. 마도 저랑 연가 어렸을 애들이 용디도 간다야 가다 셈대지 저버차 지기스. Ben today in Dusana but Tinjilianga Afghanistan Yongge and group Chitobre. And Kuzong as a show.
My relationship to this concept of heart-to-heart connection or mind-to-mind connection is an interesting one, because as a spiritual leader, I'm always attempting to open my heart to others and offer myself up for heart-to-heart and mind-to-mind connections in a genuine way with other people. But at the same time, I've always been advised that I need to emphasize intelligence over the heart-to-heart connections, because being someone in a position like mine, if I don't rely primarily on intelligence, then something dangerous may happen to me. So it's an interesting paradox at play there. But I had a really striking experience once when a group from Afghanistan came to visit me, and we had a really interesting conversation.
아주 뒤고래야 계시면 Berlin Buddha 맞아요.
맞아.
Buddha 지바, 또 군주 지바.
맞아.
먼저 뒤고래야 계시면. 주도사는 nghệ 초에 나로리야. 지당기 아니 근데 무슬림 출루리비나 아니 믹스에 가서 군자스케요 말봐.
맞아.
저우스케요 말봐.
맞아.
군조디 다 수수 맞을 봐.
No.
아니 남배기 아니 수수 주베 다 가르쳐래 덤바질이야 대구치기 알아 또 인비네 지체비나 아니 디가 수익이 다 상기 군저도야디 아주 디 자민롱마디 강하지 주봐
No.
가서 berlin
나리.
월스 맞세 되는 시간 때 또월 때네 지지랑 아주 핀주 무슬림당 다나시 남부 핀주 원내전에 지기지 세부 통하지리야 다디 부단도 장안도 chen 디 또월 때네 세부 통하지 저와요레스
맞아.
데 셰빈스 드린도 상에 섬리야 그도 이미네 아주 셈기 셈리야 이제차디 개치슈디 아니 튠조 positive
맞아.
이제 토하는 아주 저와야당 셈리야 지리야 아니 가수에 투지자의 개침시라는 성도스
That's all. So we ended up talking about the Bamiyan Buddhas, which, as you know, were destroyed some years ago in Afghanistan. But the basis of our conversation was a different approach to spirituality on the part of the Muslim and Buddhist traditions. Of course, in Muslim, because of the teachings around the concept of idolatry, you don't find as many physical representations of divinity or of spiritual liberation as you do in the Buddhist tradition, where, of course, there are many statues of the Buddha that are highly revered. So we were talking about the differences between the traditions, and what many people perceived as the tragedy of the destruction of the Bamiyan Buddhas. But I offered the suggestion that perhaps we could look at this in a positive way. What we saw in the destruction of the Bamiyan Buddhas was the depletion of matter, some solid substance falling down and disintegrating. Maybe we could look at that to be more similar to the falling of the Berlin Wall, where a divide that had kept two types of people apart had collapsed and opened up a door for further communication. So I think that in this way, it's always possible for us to derive something positive that can help us understand one another better.
Today in Lusana, and Mazut draw me, ya, and it is some Jew, Namju Yevdi, Mazut Ras, Kashu, Mubu Yagan, Gidaji, Kashu, the Zambulin Deliabe, Kashu, Kurda, Jibumimba, Mazuji, Detan, Yeve, Maumba Sidang, and then draw Tamzilia, Gunyumgi, and then Kashu, that Zambulin Juntuag, Bezushawati, as the Missamju Jenki.
So, with regard to the development that we've been talking about here at this conference, I really feel that the development that we make shouldn't create a further burden for us as human beings, but should be used to improve our fundamental lifestyle of how we live in the world.
Bena Dizan Gilmobile Bena Jan of Ginande, but should I get down to order? Should I have orders? That you belong to some time where the Yagi is sympathy, Suegi, Archer or Sana, so that natural resources are, that day, Mambuchi Pigeon to Yavati. Then do Sane, Azu Zawa, Porni, Zemolia, and Julia Mabchi. That regime beating. The need to sign Azu the sincere motivations are. That day, last some number gone, as you need to cash it, as you sing your mare. Even need to cash it, she be there, as you told her, Delia, Tonama Jebe, needs to stamp Chadi, Benakasan, Bena Kashwe, that's a Muni Tolia, Pume Manguchi, Kashwe, Gangi, the Tunge, Neta Manguchina, Cardevati, me Mangu sing your the imbine. Delia, Laxam Namda, Gun and Lane, G. Karshue, Sosu ba, G. Donia, Chonji, Rangi, Kurlana, G. The day came Mav. The day to start the Mav, you send Dene, and Chorgin and Zoblindi, Yagan to your Chorgine, and Zawati, Karshueta Meva, Zawat Tushi do you. The day to start the Lagunio maybe needs to charge yours, balance maybe. Of course, I rejoice in the development and the growth and the rise of the noble land of India, the great country of India. But at the same time, I think, as some of us have acknowledged, we need to be aware that some aspects of this rise are coming at the cost of the very ground on which we stand. So as we are climbing the tree, some of the things that we're doing in order to climb the tree are actually undermining the tree's very root. And so what I think it comes down to is a question of not only having information of what's going on, but paying attention to that and letting that shift our motivation to become more sincere and genuinely positive. We have heard this week about the horrible sufferings, for example, that so many women of the world are enduring day to day. We have that information, but what often happens to us is that we don't really choose to pay attention to it. We don't really choose to allow that to cause there to be a shift in our heart. So I think the way forward for the world, one that will bring the path of outer development in harmony with the real root of happiness, is that we
allow the information that we have to really make a change in our heart.
Tene du sana. A주 happiness digi saadi. A주 ji. A주 be jachenbu benade a주 moda buruche and dana kamba buruche chagen ya buruche bina and happiness yoa de kala khawshale. So the digi zawadi a주 ji rangi sem semlia ane a주 ji sincere motivation. Tene ji ta kanda thade energy nangwa 가르는 게 외면에 들려양 아주 에너지 가수에 띵사별권에 좋아래야다 아니 들려 가수지 섬냠을 좋아하디 개춤시다 차디 알아성도스.
So I think this sincere motivation is very important for our future well-being, our deep sense of well-being as humans. And I think that means sinking in to whatever it is you're doing now. Whatever work you're trying to do now to benefit the world, sink into that. Get a full taste of that.
Today, du sandari nima kashi rindia asu de TED conference soje. Di nalo liang asu wuki gyua tongcha mang bu qin ya res. Ada kashi asu gyua changmo de zole ya not pay attention ge yo maras. 아주 그 뒤에 디지스알 배 처음으로 지당배 impressive 되더지 권한을 샤디 알았어. 오늘 제비 임이나 아니 디지데 아주 우기 교와 참무 춘지에네 영원대버 진버디.
맞아.
시도 알았어.
So since we've been here this week, we've taken millions of breaths collectively, and perhaps we haven't witnessed any course changes happening in our lives. We often miss the very subtle changes, and I think that sometimes we develop grand concepts of what happiness might look like for us, but that if we pay attention, we can see that there are little symbols of happiness in every breath that we take.
대한 누좀 체베 디 가수다 가주디 아주기 가수지 수수기 차시 르르려야 캡투 버지다 안다나시 내는 유에데베당 창로 오늘 가수지 라섬 유에데베당 참지 유에데베당 다나시 에네베 시다기 지신유 당 안에 남주 친구 유에데베 경계패 어디 두상 아주다 단제기 수수기 토리아다 가수지 개바 삼벽이 또는 딘데지 라도 번 가수다 덴드비 차겐 삼부지 라도 련버디 아주 점불린다 마음배 체도 아니 소소리게 피네 간다지 소소기 아니 참보다 자와디 아니 무투이지 점불린이야 치시바 네트에 아니 가수 나로나
맞아.
답았어.
맞아. So every one of you who has come here is so talented, and you have so much to offer to the world. I think it would be a good note to conclude on then, to just take a moment to appreciate how fortunate we are to have come together in this way and exchanged ideas, and really form a strong aspiration and energy within ourselves that we will take the good that has come from this conference, the momentum, the positivity, and we will spread that and plant it in all of the corners of the world.
아니 다리데 럭키미 아주 공개 가수에 시락 배주 제정한 데야 깨담. 제가 시락 가보죠. 가서 담보 대스야 아니 리보데 버샤미도 참바르 보듯이 미즈 그냥 가르 참바 봐야 김선 가르스. Tomorrow is my talk. 제상. 들으실라이. 제상 간다 공시나 배주 제부터 시작 가오중 아데 영아데 성으로 도야데 공기 거진 되는 정말 제상이 니다만 두제나 샤이스.
Lakshmi has worked incredibly hard even in inviting me, let alone everything else that she has done to make this happen. And I was somewhat resistant at times. And I was also very nervous throughout this week. I was feeling under the weather and dizzy and so forth, and people would ask me why. I would tell them it's because I have to talk tomorrow. So Lakshmi had to put up with me through all of that, but I very much appreciate the opportunity she's given me to be here. And
Thank you.
to you, everyone, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.